Story time. The magical fountain. A young woodcutter named Taro lived with his mother and father on a lonely hillside. All day long he chopped wood in the forest. Though he worked very hard, he earned very little money. This made him sad, for he was a thoughtful son and wanted to give his old parents everything they needed. One evening, when Taro and his parents were sitting in a corner of the hut, a strong wind began to blow. It whistled through the cracks of the hut, and everyone felt very cold. Suddenly, Taro's father said, "I wish I had a cup of shake. It would warm me and do my old heart good." This made Taro sadder than ever, for the heart-warming drink called shake was very expensive. "How do I earn more money?" he asked himself. "How do I get shake for my poor old father?" He decided to work harder than before. Next morning, Taro jumped out of bed earlier than usual and made his way to the forest. He chopped and cut as the sun climbed, and soon he was so warm that he had to take off his jacket. His mouth was dry and his face was wet with sweat. "My poor old father," he thought, "if only he was as warm as I." And with that he began to chop even faster, thinking of the extra money he must earn to buy the shake to warm the old man's bones. Then suddenly Taro stopped chopping. What was that sound I heard? Could it possibly be rushing water? Taro could not remember ever seeing or hearing a rushing stream in that part of the forest. He was thirsty. The axe dropped out of his hands and he ran in the direction of the sound. Taro saw a beautiful little waterfall hidden behind a rock. Kneeling at a place where the water flowed quietly, he cupped a little in his hands and put it to his lips. Was it water or was it shake? He tasted it again and again, and always it was the delicious shake instead of cold water. Taro quickly filled the pitcher he had with him and hurried home. The old man was delighted with the shake. He stopped shivering and danced in the middle of the floor. That afternoon, a neighbor stopped by for a visit. Taro's father politely offered her a cup of the shake. The lady drank it greedily and thanked the old man. Then Taro told her the story of the magic waterfall. Thanking them for the delicious drink, she left in a hurry. By nightfall, she had spread the story throughout the whole village. That evening, there was a long procession of visitors at the woodcutter's house. Each man heard the story of the waterfall and took a sip of the shake. In less than an hour, the pitcher was empty. Next morning, Taro started for work even earlier than before. He carried with him the largest pitcher he owned, for he intended first of all to go to the waterfall. When he reached it, to his great surprise, he found all his neighbors there. They were carrying pitchers, jugs, buckets, anything they could find to collect the magic shake. Then one villager knelt and held his mouth under the waterfall to drink. He drank again and again and then shouted angrily, "Water, nothing but water." Others also tried, but there was no shake, only cold water. "We have been tricked," shouted the villagers. "Where is Taro? Let us drown him in this waterfall." He was nowhere to be found since he was hiding behind a rock. Muttering in anger and disappointment, the villagers left the place one by one. Taro came out from his hiding place. Was it true? He wondered, was a sheikh a dream? Once more he took a little liquid in his hand and put it to his lips. It was the same fine sheikh. To the thoughtful son, the magic waterfall gave the delicious shake. To everyone else, it gave only cold water. The story of Taro and his magic water reached the Emperor of Japan. He sent for the young woodcutter and rewarded him with 20 pieces of gold for having been so good and kind. Then he named the most beautiful fountain in the city after Taro. This, said the emperor, was to encourage all children to honor and obey their parents. Moral of the story: love your parents and treat them with loving care.